Welcome to Spiritual Psychic with Sarah Wiseman, where you'll learn how to unlock the secrets of spiritual intuition and your own psychic gifts. Here's Sarah.
To Spiritual Psychic, I'm Sarah Wiseman. Today we're talking about soul lessons and the idea that you don't need to repeat soul lessons. So from the book Messages of the Divine, two ideas. Once you've learned a lesson, you don't have to repeat it. Once you've learned a lesson, you're free. And so this is talking about the deeper karma that we have going on in terms of why we enter in as souls to this lifetime, why we enter into the particular challenges and lessons that we have going on, and how we're making progress as souls, how we're making progress in our Earth curriculum that we're here to encounter. And so one of the ideas here is that we're each here to work on soul lessons, and these are often the really big things. A lot of you are familiar with the idea of these 7 shadows that we work on, and it might be abuse and addiction and abandonment and poverty and war and betrayal, these kind of really, really big things that we move through. The other idea is that we work through the more positive soul lessons, and this is not an extensive list. I'm just giving you some ideas like patience and generosity and detachment and transcendence. So we're kind of, each person has their own batch of lessons that they're here in this lifetime to work on. So it sounds horrible. Like, why would we come back into a lifetime and choose to do lessons? Why would we bother? Why don't we just stay in spirit form if all we're going to do is, come here and face these, challenges? So the good news is, and that is a philosophical point. I don't have an answer to that. But the good news is that once you have learned a lesson as a soul, once you've made it through a particular lesson, let's say your lesson is abuse. Maybe in many past lives you were an abuser. In other past lives you were abused. And in this lifetime you are actively working on that lesson of not being an abuser and not being abused. And this lifetime, you crack through it, like you have understanding. You break the karmic chain. And that means never again in the next lifetimes, you don't have to face this particular lesson again. Once you've learned it, you're free. And sometimes we talk about this as doorways, like you walk through a doorway and then the doorway shuts behind you. You can't go backwards. You can only go forward. You walk to the next doorway and so on. Other example that's really common is we come into these karmic relationships with people and we have this relationship and it's absolutely a disaster. And our soul lesson in this relationship is to say, no more to that relationship. We have a karmic crossing and we can't work out our karma to either party's satisfaction. And our lesson is to detach from that and just say, you know what? I'm going to put energy elsewhere. This is obviously not going to work. I'm going to put my energy elsewhere. So again, each person's lessons are different, and we're going to be exploring this idea of what lessons are in future teachings. But for now, we're just holding this idea that you've got your lessons. You may be aware of some of them. You may be aware by what is sticky in your life as to what the lessons are. So the thing to keep in mind, once you've learned a lesson, you don't have to repeat it. And skipping ahead is encouraged. You don't have to slog through the basic curriculum again if you've already learned it. There's this idea of as souls we come in and we don't remember. But as we become conscious, as we begin to do spiritual practices, we do start to remember. We do start to remember. And one of the things you're going to remember is, I've done that lesson. I've already completed that lesson. I already know this. I already know what that is. I recognize this. And so instantly, when you start to dive into your spiritual practice, one of the things that comes up in meditation or letting the universe guide you is, check, that's done. Check, that one's done. Check, that one's done. You remember very quickly what you've already learned in past lives, and you realize, you don't need to repeat everything. You don't need to repeat. And here from the Messages from the Divine, the book, you do not need to repeat kindergarten multiple times. Learn the lesson and then move forward. Get in there, open yourself up, throw off the shroud, and let yourself learn. Then move on to the more interesting coursework of your soul. The universe will take you as fast and as far as you can go, and you can go much farther than you ever dreamed. So, here's some ideas, again, from the book, Messages from the Divine. You might choose to learn lessons quickly so that you can go faster. You might choose to learn how to spot a lesson as it arrives to you. You might choose to learn willingly in trust that all is well. So, as you're working on your own soul growth, there's these two ideas. One, you don't have to repeat a lesson once it's learned. And two, you can go as fast as you would like to go. All you have to do is allow the universe to lead you. So you can find the book, Messages from the Divine, and you can find more about me. You'll find them both at sarahwiseman.com.